All right, Chukwudi Abuja is right here with us this Friday. Chukwudi, good to see you.
How are you, my dear?
Very well.
And look, I am a happier person regarding my regard for Nigerian football. Yesterday was sweet. It was good. They didn't run flat-footed. They were on the balls
how
of
did
their
you
feet.
feel when Victor Osimhen missed that
It
begging chance?
It was on the image, on the
Very, very unusual.
It was, but then they say Homer sometimes nods. The best make mistakes.
And he paid for it with two.
Eventually. That last one was something else. From the
All right, congratulations.
From tighter angles while losing the open one.
Good morning, Victor.
Life is good to see.
And welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
All right, away from the Super Eagles win, of course, that's on all the papers this morning. Congratulations to the Super Eagles. It's at the top right here on the Leadership newspaper, just beside the masthead. It says, Super Eagles keep World Cup dream alive. Thrash Gabon 4-1. All right, away from that, the lead story this morning on the Leadership is mixed reactions as federal government suspends 15% fuel imports tax. The riders' policy against petroleum acts, say product dealers. Reversal disappointing. Ogun Chamber of Commerce. That's on page 4. Below the picture story, explosion near Akwa Ibom Government House kills 2 prison inmates, injures 2 officials. You want to find out what's going on. And then we have Wike. That's the kicker of this one. I don't have a problem with the military. That's on page 16. Christianity facing existential threat in Nigeria. That's according to the Pentecostal Fellowship, and you can find out on page 6. Finally, on the front page of Leadership this morning, we have AMCON officials, lawyers face contempt charges for contravention of court orders. All right, so that's about it. And this one on gratuities and pensions. 28 states unpaid pensions gratuities hit 626.81 billion naira. That's according to budgets, and you can find out on page 22. Let's see the Business NG quickly now. The Business NG has something completely different from what all the papers have, of course. That's why it's Business NG. The lead story here says, food crisis looms as farmers battle rising costs. Not good, but of course you want to see what's happening so you can prepare ahead. This one says ex-aviation minister criticizes Wike over soldiers clash. All right, that's on page 11. Looks like that story is not about to die down anytime soon. Ogun picked for $1 million biodiversity project. That's on page 9. And of course the suspension of 15% fuel import duty is also right here. Senate bans recruitment of under 18 soldiers. That's right here. I think that's still in the works. Reps order suspension of WAEC CBT rollout for 2026 exams. So that's about it on the Business NG this morning. Victor.
All right, I have the Daily Trust. And the lead story here is on politics. PDP convention. Delegates arrive in Ibadan amid calls for caretaker committee. All right, just above that story, which is below the nameplate, Gombe State Governor Inwayaya presents 2026 budget proposal of 535.69 billion naira, tagged budget of consolidation to State Assembly. That story is on page 7. All right, and towards the bottom, the picture story tells us, shows us troops of the Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai rescue 74 stranded members of the National Youth Service Corps along the Buratai-Kamuya Road in Borno State on Tuesday. And to the right of that picture shows the buses conveying the Corps members. How I've managed diabetes for 20 years, that's according to a 75-year-old man. That story is on pages 6, 7, and 9. 6, 7, 9. And finally, reps ask WAEC to suspend CBT for 2026 exams on page 38. Nigeria inch closer to 2026 World Cup tickets on page 47. And marketers welcome suspension of 15% fuel import levy is on page 27. Chukwudi.
If they say rescue stranded youth corps members, it tells you how sensitive we are to anything that is that happens to you on the highway, without assurance of people being there for you just in case harm tends to come your way. I think I'm happy for them because being on the highway,
and it was night.
That time, you don't want to even think about it for a few seconds.
But then the bigger issue is, why does it get into the night when you travel? Why does it have to?
Roads.
I asked whether I was talking to somebody about traveling home for Christmas. I like driving. When I was GM somewhere in the north, in Jos, I like driving, and the landscape on both sides of the road of Jos, the yellow and the reddish flowers and all that. It's a joy. Then the sunset, you take photos of it every day you travel. So there is joy in traveling. It's just that the times have changed everything. It is a big blow to those of us who like local tourism, since we can't afford to go to Dubai and the rest of them. It's okay. We are happy for the stranded youth corps members.
Reps order suspension of WAEC CBT rollout for 2026 exams.
Why are they suspending it? I didn't take that
Well,
one.
they say that it's premature because most secondary schools in Nigeria do not have computer facilities, and the students are not,
Computer literate.
When we keep on saying things that should not be happening in this century, I'm not even talking about this year. By now, our children all over should be playing with computers. India, as numerous as they are, you know what their population is, they still manage to do these things, I think it boils down again to the will being the necessary father to the action happening, If we show it real interest, it's going to happen. Our children should have things to work with, even if it's iPads and all that. Distribute them. How much is it? You have to mean it for it to happen. That is my take on it. The suspension is okay, since they have found out there is ample evidence that the children are not well placed to write the exam in those conditions. That's good.
We should now take steps.
Don't be surprised it could be suspended again next year. I mean, it's like what we say, the ritual we come here to say concerning flooding and the rest of it. Barring what the elements are wreaking on the world now, because of climate change. There are so many things we should do ahead of the rainy season to decrease the dangers from flooding. But we hardly do those things. So we keep on reciting that morbid poem. It's not the best as far as I am concerned. So, that's the way it goes.
Food crisis looms as farmers battle rising costs.
Victor does not think I will ever become a bona fide farmer. It doesn't matter to me what he thinks. I know I
haven't seen one.
I have my ambitions. Now, they mentioned the production cost, rising production cost, escalating the behavior, insecurity and post-harvest losses, forcing farmers, particularly in the north, central and northwest, to consider abandoning agriculture. I'm going to dwell more on escalating or rising production cost. Yeah, Ray, I am happy. I know you are joyous over the crash of food items. But the implication for the farmer is that he will lose interest in farming in 2026 because what he needs to produce that which does not fetch a high price anymore comes to him at a very high cost. Inputs, the chemicals they use, even the boys who reluctantly follow you to your farm, reluctantly, they don't want to farm. They charge you ×2 of what you're going to get as harvest when you eventually sell. These are things we need to look into if we are serious about helping the farmer. I don't want food prices to go up. But the way it is now, apart from groundnuts are still doing well. Corn, that is maize, forget it. Beans, I hear it's 1.2 now, or 1.3. Rice has even crashed as well. I like it, but where does it leave the farmer? Let us retain the regime of prices falling drastically, but also make sure that what the farmer needs to bring these things into being it's addressed. Otherwise, it's not the best as far as I'm concerned, you know. Victor does not farm, so he might not want to understand what we farmers...
I get 1 tuber of yam from you, I'm not sure. Marketers welcome suspension of 15% fuel import levy.
Well, the Chambers of Commerce does not like the reversal. One man's meat is another man's poison. You know, what I like about economics is that you can have two professors of economics arguing in opposite directions. I remember late Boyle and Bismarck Rewani. I remember Chuo Kongu and Professor Sam Aluko. In fact, Professor Sam Aluko told Chuo Kongu at a point that there is an alternative to dying. It is called living. They were talking about a structural adjustment program of military president Ibrahim Babangida. You know, so it depends on where you're looking at it from. Government was eyeing more revenue. I don't know whether Trump had responded to that because it was going to affect the U.S. To some extent, you know. Well, let us see how it all pans out. When it's economics, I don't talk too much because it's not one of my fortes. That's it.
All right. And by the way, PDP convention, well, they say it's going ahead regardless. Delegates arrive in Ibadan amid calls.
Till I see them on the podium talking to... I wouldn't believe that is...
or appointing a caretaker.
We hear that people are all over Ibadan now and all that. Delegates, the organizing committee is being praised by the Damagun-led... what do you call it now?
All right.
Well, it's okay. We wish them well, but PDP needs to really do a lot of work.
Just like we wish you well.
Maybe post-2027.
So we wish you well for the weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, and we'll see you again on Monday.
Thank you.